Hey everybody, welcome back to the Earthmote. I am Randall. Today we have another review for you. We're looking at all things dungeons and specifically going back to our ABCs. That's right, today we are looking at the Dungeon Alphabet. This is written by Michael Curtis and published by Goodman Games. It is an A to Z reference for classic dungeon design. So let's go ahead and dive into the Dungeon Alphabet. Alrighty, here we have the Dungeon Alphabet. This is the front cover of it. Artwork is done by Errol Otis. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Very famous OSR artist. It's kind of a cool dungeon scene invoking the different letters of the alphabet. On the back, it is published by Goodman Games, and you can see a brief description. Essentially, it says the Dungeon Alphabet compiles inspirational tables on classic dungeon design elements to assist the game master in creating subterranean challenges. So it's essentially a bunch of different alphabetical random tables that help you create dungeons. Sounds pretty cool. The book itself is a hardcover, has sort of a glossy finish. It's not too thick of a book. I believe it is maybe 80 pages long, but it does have a nice set of tables that can help you build out your dungeon. Opening the book up, we have a nice kind of interior pages artwork designed by Peter Mullen. Then we get to the table of contents. So you can see the different alphabetized tables that they have for offer. There's a brief introduction on how to use the supplement. So it starts off with A for altars, and you can roll. There will be different size tables, so they're not like a standard all D20s. It varies, but essentially you can roll for the appearance. In this case, you can roll for accoutrements that might be on top of the altar. And then the altar may have special properties. There's a 10% chance cumulative per dungeon level. So the deeper your players go, the higher chance there is of a altar with a magical or special property. One thing that I do like in the book is throughout it, in these kind of intro text and within the tables themselves, it'll reference other tables. So it'll say like statues. So that's if you see it in bold, that means it is referencing another table within the book. So that's cool. I like the way that they tie those together. Gives you a lot of neat ideas. So we have A for altars, lots of great artwork in here, a bunch of different styles, no consistent styling, right? Errol Otis is very unique in his, whereas these others have more kind of realistic style artistic sketching. But A is for also adventures. So that's one thing with the book. You will see that there are sometimes, and more often than not, I would say, multiple tables for a single letter. It's usually just 2 tables per letter at max. Like some letters just have a single table. B is for books. So here we can see there is a 3d6 roll rather than like a d20. So you're going to have a bell curve on this one. Your book might have a special property, 5% chance per the dungeon level. So if we rolled super rare like 18, the book might have the soul of the previous owner trapped inside it, and the spirit will attempt to possess the next owner of the book. So that's kind of cool. There's a D100 table here of different book titles, including authors. That's great. Sometimes you have an office or a library, and your players will grab a random book. You might need a title. B is for battles. C is for caves. Again, caves can be home to fungi. There are lots of pools there. Echoes through caves certainly happen. And there can be hallways. C is also for cipher, so different keys or ciphers that the players can find. Players feel really clever when they're able to crack codes or solve mysteries. So having things like this in there is great. C is also for crypts. So crypts are a common dungeon type or element in dungeons. So the crypt is home to a functioning portal to the afterlife. Unfortunately, it's a one-way portal. So that's interesting. If your players go through that, they'll have to find a different way home. D is for doors. Never met a player that hasn't had a fateful encounter with a door, either overthinking it or just, struggling to get it open. D is also for dragons. E is for echoes. So echoes, nice precursor to maybe an encounter. You could include it in your random encounters or maybe overload the encounter die. So if there's like a 2 in 6 chance, but on a 2, maybe they hear an echo rather than encounter a denizen. E is also for entrances. F is for fungi, mushrooms and different fungi, molds, things like that are, classic dungeon staples. G is for gold, so random forms of gold. Maybe they get adventures discover the deed for a gold mine written out to the bear. So like these are different treasures other than just coins that the players can find and have to deal with. I like that, coins are great. They're the standard, but it's nice to add flavor and different unique elements to it because it really gets the players to stop and think about it. Like if they encounter this as statue as a gold thing, how the heck are they going to get that out of the dungeon? G is also for guardians, so different guardians that are defending terrific treasures. H is for hallways, classics in dungeons having long hallways. H is also for hazard. I is for inscriptions. Great way to telegraph information to your players about the dungeons, put it on walls, put it on, statues, things like that. You can have different inscriptions like helpful directions written in a common tongue. These directions could warn of an upcoming trap, point to the way of the nearest exit, or provide clues to a hidden treasure. It's great stuff. Lots of different ways to give your players information so they can make the choices that they need to within the dungeon. J is for jewels. So we think of gems as like another form of currency, but you can add different properties to them. And this is a table to do that. So maybe they get a jewel as a part of a legendary collection. So these are like extremely rare or incredibly valuable jewels that now are probably a problem for the party because they might have a lot of different thieves interested in taking them. K is for kobolds. L is for levers. Levers are a classic in dungeon design, allowing you to activate traps, open doors or pathways, just different things like that. L is also for levels. You have a couple tables here, one for how the dungeons are connected by and the theme. So maybe it's connected by magical teleporting sarcophaguses, very Elden Ring-esque. This was written before that, but that reminds me of Elden Ring. 20 dungeon level themes. M is for magic, different odd magical devices you can find in the dungeon there. Maybe you find a wheel of fortune that bestows boons or banes upon the spinner. M is for maps. 12 unusual maps found in the dungeon. I love maps. Maps are a great way to give your players hooks and other areas to explore and find. I like to run kind of sandbox hex crawls type games, so map can point to a totally different hex that the players have to now head off and try to find and explore. Maps are great. No stone left unturned. Teeny bit of a stretch on that one, but fair enough. 20 random places to hide things. O is for oozes, classic monster of dungeons. O is also for omen, similar to maybe an echo. Maybe your party encounters, or if you overload the encounter die, maybe they get an omen on one number as opposed to a random encounter. So maybe they find natural occurring markings on dungeons or walls seem to depict symbols or images. These foreshadow a creature or trap situated ahead of the party and can be either clear depictions or cryptic hints. P is for pools. P is also for potions. Q is for questions. So 8 questions to keep the adventure party guessing. Always nice to incorporate a little bit of mystery into your dungeons and let them think about what is happening there. Not mystery in the sense of like a murder per se, but just they don't have a full picture on what was happening in the dungeon either currently or in the ancient past. Q is for quests. So you got random quest givers here, and then you have another table on the quest to fulfill. R is for rooms. This is a nice set of tables. You get random rooms here, puzzle rooms, stasis rooms, compacting rooms, lots of different flavor, different things you can add to make your dungeon unique and interesting rather than just like a bland castle. And then you have on this table random original purpose of rooms and chambers. So if you're kind of stuck on just filling out another blank room, you can roll here to get a category. So maybe you get a scholarly table, and you roll here and it's a divination chamber. So you can add flavor to that. Maybe it allows the players to divine some event in the future, things like that. Very cool. R is for relics, so random patron saints and their relics gives you some flavor there. And then on the next page, we get 30 random relics from previous adventures. Here we have S's for statues common, dressing in a dungeon, lots of different ways to use them and interact with them. Couple tables here that you can roll, figure depicted, what it's made from, and then special properties. So again, using the dungeon level, so the deeper you go, the more likely you are to find statues with special properties. Very cool. S is for stairs. Unusual dungeon stairs here. T is for traps, standard accoutrements there if you need a trap. T is also for treasure chest. U is for undead. We have undead are a common dungeon occupant. U is also for underwater. V is for vermin. So if you need some different creatures or type vermin that occupy the dungeon, you can roll here for ideas. V is also for vegetation. So different vegetation that might occupy the dungeon. It can have some interesting effects that your players maybe can interact with. So maybe it's a repository of lost lore. Century ago, some sage encouraged the vegetation to grow in topiary fashion, forming secret symbols and powerful glyphs embedded with eldritch wisdom. Anyone depicting the meaning of the plant's twisted boughs and branches gains access to these mysteries. W is for weird, so weird elements that you can add to your dungeon. X is for xenophobia. Y is for yellow. Little bit of a stretch, pretty short table here, but maybe they trigger a pressure plate, causes the hallway to fill with a cloud of yellow gas, roiling and billowing as if alive. The cloud moves quickly towards the party, threatening to engulf them. Z is for Zowie, a little bit of a stretch. The Zowie is related to the weird, but where the weird is subtle and quiet, the Zowie is grandiose, memorable, and breathtaking. So maybe they run into an orrery or model of the cosmic wheel. And that is the end of the dungeon alphabet. So overall, I think it has a lot of interesting tables in it that can definitely help you fill out your dungeons. I have used it to stock some of my dungeons. I think it's a great resource. I've used it alongside things like the Tome of Adventure Design and the Worlds Without Numbers GM tools. It is another just sort of well of tables that you can go to build out different ideas and implement into your games to make them more interactive and interesting for your players to check out, all while saving you kind of that mental energy of thinking up everything on your own. So I think it's a great resource. The back price on it was listed at $20. I think I got it on sale during their Black Friday sale. $20 for, a hardcover book only being 80 pages is, I think, a fair price. I probably wouldn't pay much more than that, but overall, it had great artwork, good ideas, and I think it's worth checking out if you're looking for resources to help you design your different dungeons. Some of the alphabet may be a little bit of a stretch, but understandable, and I think it's still usable material in there. You can still look at those tables and use them if you want to within your dungeons. So I think that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. If you liked the review, please give it a like, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you very much.